have been mandated to give us a befitting national identification card. And I'm quite sure their management will do a good job, because from my personal investigation, they are trying to do something different from their predecessors. The system housing unit they are going to use, let me not sell anybody's merchandise, is different from that was in place before. The backup system they are employing is different from that which was there before. Therefore, I think they are going to do a greater work and much better. But what is missing now is an articulate bill from the National Assembly to establish what I may call National Biometrics and Information Center, to be manned by a competent colonel or retired colonel or even a brigadier general or a commissioner of police, a different agency that takes all the floating biometrics on the air and house it there. What that does in crime fighting is, when police or any security agency does a forensic sweep analysis of a crime scene, you're able to pick up fingerprints or even any kind of footprints. You're able to send it to this particular agency for analysis, and they're able to match fingerprints in their file. Today, there's a possibility that there are about 100 million floating fingerprints in this country. The essence of using biometrics to checkmate pensioners is, again, to showcase who is a spirit worker or a ghost worker from a real living worker. And I commend all those who have been able to establish there's a fault. And the civil servants have created avenues of stealing taxpayers' money. But there must be an articulate bill to have this particular agency. Recently, the Census Bureau or National Population Council is thinking of having a biometric biometric census. I've never heard of such nonsense anywhere in the world. You have numerical census and not a biometric census. Why would they want to repeat what NIMSI is doing? Therefore, there's a need for jointness. There's a need for these various agencies to sit down and discuss on better way to safeguard Nigerian data. Otherwise, you and I are at risk.
You're saying, it looks as though you're saying two different things. You talked about, yes, the national bill to be headed by a security personnel, but now you say all the agencies need to come together, harmonize what they have, such that we can move forward. Shouldn't that be what it should be, as opposed to what you say, having another agency to be headed by a security agency? I mean, that wouldn't be necessary, would it?
No, very, very necessary. No, Chamberlain, very, very necessary. Because the custodian of those records becomes a warehouse. NIMSI has its records on national identification management. NIMSI should not be compelled to come to court and prove that a criminal is who they say he is. But this particular agency houses part of NIMSI's record as backup, part of INEC's record, part of the census record if biometric is what Festus Odimegu succeeds in giving to us. And all these other agencies, National Health Insurance, even the private sector, will be compelled by law to submit all their data to this particular housing unit. It becomes the warehouse that if there is a case pending, the police with a proper court warrant can go to and ask for information to match a fingerprint in their record. And this can be done rapidly. You cannot just go to NIMSI and ask them to qualify if this particular person is who they claim to be. NIMSI is to take your biometrics, issue you an ID card, and NIMSI can say, yes, this is an authentic identification issued by us. Mr. Chamberlain is a bona fide Nigerian, and based on the records we have, he is XYZ. Now, NIMSI cannot be compelled to submit your biodata without an act of law. And that is what I'm trying to say.
Mr. Ganite, I'm sorry, I'll have to take you back a little to the initial discussion on amnesty for Boko Haram. We also saw that when the president visited Borno, one of the things that came up was the withdrawal of the JTF from Borno State. And one of the things that the president was able to do, or which he put forward, was that he would gladly withdraw JTF from Borno State if the elders are able to guarantee the security of lives and property, that he would not tolerate the death of even one person, if anything should happen in the eventual withdrawal of the JTF. What did you make of that?
It's a very good quid pro quo exchange. You can never, based on current situation, whether the elders guarantee the safety of the citizens, withdraw JTF. Terror, as long as there is an Al-Qaeda, we are going to have various versions of this terrorist activity. Even if amnesty is issued, there's going to be a group that will crop up and say that they don't believe in that amnesty. Why? Because these things are ideologically driven. And when something is ideologically driven, you need narrative to counter that ideology, to make it really sublime. Now, what the president, in my view, is trying to say is, another pseudo challenge to the Borno elders. Bring out these terrorists in your midst, insurgents in your midst, and we will discuss the issue of amnesty. But to withdraw JTF is unacceptable, because if you understand the vastness of Borno, the vastness of Yobe, and as he encroaches into the neighboring states of Chad and Niger, you now know that JTF is there to stay, and there's going to be an expanded version of JTF. Let me take you back a little bit to the Niger Delta. Even with the surrender and amnesty in Niger Delta, JTF is still operating there. Why? Because another group who are called bunkerers are there doing business against the laws of Nigeria. So we are part of the international community. Therefore, we must accept that certain vices being exported by various angles of the international community will also affect us. One thing also that we discussed here the last time I was here, which for one reason or the other, the federal government have remained very silent on, is the impact of Iran and what influences they may have on Nigerian security. Iranian government came out and published an article in the paper disclaiming any kind of accusation from the state security services or Department of State Services. And I believe the Department of State Services side of the story. We need to call the ambassador of Iran to question. Otherwise, Nigeria needs to recall our ambassador in Iran, because this is a very serious issue. Iran cannot play a role in the destabilization of this sovereign nation. We don't do that in Iran. Vatican doesn't do that in Iran. And I said again that if any country attempted to do that in Iran, the Iranian Student Union would have overwhelmed that country's embassy. But I'm not suggesting that our student union do same to Iranian embassy. But the federal government must step up. We are not a banana republic.
Mr.
And we must do that as serious nations do.
You seem somewhat, if I'm reading you right, to be advocating that amnesty be part of this particular, should be on the table. Do you worry about our international reputation in the sense that won't we be the first to be granting amnesty to people who are supposed to be terrorists, in quote?
No, we will not be. Because if you look at what is about to happen in Colombia, for over 30 years, the FARC have fought the main government, and today they are discussing overseas on how to end that insurgency. And we fought a civil war, and I was on the part of the Southeast that were called the rebels. we were not given opportunity to be a nation.